We are here to talk about. Just give me a sec to share my screen. We are here to talk about the Xamarin Community Toolkit. So I'm going to share my screen and let's do an introduction to the Xamarin Community Toolkit. So we only have 40 minutes, and probably you have heard about the Community Toolkit several times in the past years, because now for many developers looks like we are creating this toolkit from scratch, but the reality is that the toolkit started in 2016, if I remember well.
I think so, yeah.
So we are trying to explain what we are doing, how much you can achieve, what are the number of controls, converters, behaviors, effects, and much more super interesting features that you can achieve using the Community Toolkit. And of course, we also want to share how you can use it and how you can collaborate with it, because as the name said, this is a community effort. In our side, from Microsoft, myself and Gerard, we are trying to help, push, reviewing PRs, helping as much as possible to continue this moving forward and having the best toolkit as possible. But of course, that means that only means community. It's a community effort, and the important part is you, the community. So first of all, I don't know if we must first make a quick introduction. Gerald, if you want to start yourself.
Yeah, of course. I'm Gerald. I live in the Netherlands, and I've been working for Microsoft for almost 18 months now, I think. And I started on the Xamarin Forms team, where Javier is right now. But, I found another challenge in GitHub Codespaces, which is also very cool. Go check that out right after the Conf, of course. To stay in touch with the Xamarin Forms team, because, Xamarin will always have a special place in my heart. I'm driving from the Microsoft side, like Javier just explained, the Xamarin Community Toolkit. So here we are.
Yeah, good introduction. So yeah, you love the challenge, but still we have here with the Community Toolkit in the Xamarin part. So that's awesome. And my name is Javier. I'm working from Spain, from the south of Spain. I'm working in the Xamarin Forms team. I think that yesterday was my second anniversary at Microsoft. So yeah, very good. Yeah. So let's continue. We have a lot of a lot of APIs and a lot of stuff to talk about. So first of all, I mentioned that in the keynote, we will have at the end of the event a very, very funny quiz. Please don't miss that, because it will be very, very funny. And we will have very, very amazing prize. And that is possible only with the support of many sponsors. So thanks so much again to all the sponsors. I will repeat that many times along the day, but it's right. It's the event is not the same without them. So thanks so much. So Gerard, you want to do the introduction to what is the Community Toolkit?
Yeah, sure. So the Xamarin Community Toolkit, like Javier said, it's been tried before. I actually didn't really know about it. I think some form of the Xamarin Community Toolkit was also the XLabs, which is also a package that I think a lot of people used even after it was discontinued. But now the Xamarin Community Toolkit, we started with this a couple of months ago already. And it does two things basically. It is a community toolkit, because when I was just working on the actual apps with Xamarin Forms, if you're doing that right now, then you will know that there is a lot of converters, behaviors, effects that you're basically just copy and pasting throughout all the projects, right? Because it's just too small to create your own NuGet package for it, or your internal NuGet package. So you just copy it and then you make some changes, and then you suddenly have two versions. So it's a mess, right? You don't want that. So what we're trying to do with the Xamarin Community Toolkit is to get all those much used code, behaviors, converters, everything into our little package, so that we have one convenient package that everyone can use and everyone can benefit from. So that's one thing, and the other part is like the big community part, because the story of how I joined Microsoft, or they never really admitted this to me, but I think a big part had to do with that I was contributing to Xamarin Forms already. And for a lot of people, including myself, that is like a big step, right? Because all these smart people, Javier is working on this. He's super smart. So that can be intimidating, right? I totally understand that. And what we're trying to do with this community toolkit is also have a little bit of a smaller, lower threshold package that you can contribute to. There's not firm deadlines as with Xamarin Forms, so we can take our time to mature things, and we can help you get that contribution. So that's another thing, at least that's very important to me about this package. So that's basically the things that we're trying to do. And Javier wants to add something.
Yeah, you are just playing it very well, but I only want to include just a simple note that we are trying also to have official documentation with the community toolkit. So this is not only a library that where the community contributes, it's also a place where staff from Microsoft we are trying to help to review not only specs, also trying to review PRs. The cycle of PRs reviewing are very short, so we try to merge as soon as possible. And we are also starting to have the first documentation that, of course, will appear in docs, docs.microsoft.com, so in the official Microsoft docs documentation site, and that's awesome. So
yeah, exactly. So quickly, another note that we are going to run out of time so quickly. So one other thing is Xamarin Forms 5 is going to be like the last major version, right? So the things that were experimental in Xamarin Forms are going to go over to the Xamarin Community Toolkit, or other things will become stable. And other things that will happen is, because Xamarin Forms 5 will not see any big new features until, it will get bug fixes. Bug fixes? Did I say that? I can't say that on a live stream. Bug fixes and hot fixes and that kind of stuff. So that will be fine. But to still give you new stuff, new controls, we also have the community toolkit to provide for that. So that will fill the gap between Xamarin Forms 5 and .NET-MAUI, which will come to you next year. So I think I'm up to go over the next thing, the behaviors. So let's just.
So the community toolkit is a very interesting way to introduce new features and functionality that probably you will think about. Hey, I will send a new spec for Xamarin Forms to to create a floating button, for example, and I will send a PR to Xamarin Forms directly. Now, as you know, we are in a period where we are working in stability, in performance, bug fixing, and improve the stability in general. So we are not working in new functionality, but this is an alternative way to include functionality in a easy way. And by the way, we have moved some experimental functionality from Forms to the community toolkit. So far, we have the media element, the expander, and the C# markup extensions today are available in the Xamarin Community Toolkit, not in Xamarin Forms. And we continue, of course, developing and progressing with this kind of functionality, but in this case, in the toolkit. And say that, let's continue talking about the behaviors. So we are going to try to organize that in blocks. I don't know. Let's start yourself talking about behaviors, for example.
Yeah. So behaviors, I'm going to assume that you have a little bit of knowledge about that. So this is basically like you can add some functionality to existing controls without, having to inherit from them and create your own whole control. So we already have a good number of behaviors in here, like shown on the screen right now. So we have email validation. We have event to command. Not everyone agrees with that being in here, but we have it because a lot of people are just asking for it, because we can set our own course because it's a community toolkit. So if you have that request and people agree with that, then who are we to not do that, right? within limits. So here you can see I'm not going to read them all out loud, but with this, it's just so much easier to do these kind of basic things like the paper cuts that you might be missing from default Xamarin Forms, or again, these things that you already have in your own application, copying, pasting them from each project over and over again. So, these things just make it easier. Like I see the max length reach behavior. That's really cool. So you can specify a max length on an entry or anything that takes a text, and whenever it reaches that max length, it will fire a command or an event. So you can take action on that. So that's really cool. And a couple of validation things here, so you can just validate that entries in there. So that's really cool as well. Do we have any slide after this, or? Oh, so here you can see a couple of them running. But I don't know if you want to have
I
here.
think that everything is looking better always with a demo. So I think that this is the moment to share your screen and
right,
do a quick demo about behaviors. And also, it's a good opportunity to show up the sample that we have in the Community Toolkit and show how everything is organized and how everything works. So
absolutely. So here we are. For me, the screen is here. So if I'm looking and talking here, then you know why. But this is the full solution basically that you can find on github.com/Xamarin Community Toolkit, which has a big number of things already in there. And this is like the main thing, right? So this is our toolkit. It uses multi-targeting for the people who know about that. So all the things are in the same place. So whenever we go to, I don't know, the behaviors are not that interesting in the multi-targeting regard. But if we look at the views, those will have like the platform-specific renderers. And we look at like the camera view. I was working on that earlier today. You can see that it has all the bits for UWP, iOS, and Android in one place. So, there will be a lot of content. Don't worry about it on how to contribute to this. I will make sure of that. But more importantly for you, if you want to start looking into this, we have a sample app that has... I'm trying to get all the things in there, all the features. And we're not quite there yet, but most of the stuff is in there. And you can see it here running on the right on my iOS simulator. So, here you can see the different kind of things that we're going to talk about today. Again, I'm not sure if we are going to get through all of it. But here you can see the behavior. So here you can basically see all the things that I've just mentioned, maybe a couple more. And if we look at that, email validation. So let's just go here. And if I start typing here, you can see that whenever I go out there, it's invalid because it's not a valid email address. So if I just type my actual email address in here, if you want to, reach out, get to know me, here we go at Microsoft.com. Now it stays black. So this will validate an email address for you, and that will make it so much easier for you to validate that input. Now, if we look at some other things, so maybe the other thing that I mentioned earlier here, what was it? The max length. So here's a couple of settings that you can do for it as well. So we tried to do the sample where you can toggle all the options and see if it's a right fit for you. So the max length of this is 6, so it should have 6 characters. And this says something about should it dismiss the keyboard. So you also have the option to keep showing the keyboard or put that soft keyboard away whenever you're done. And I think what they did in this sample is when you start typing here, then whenever we reach 6, you see an event is already triggered, and it will automatically focus the next entry. So, that might be something you want, and you can just go to the next one here. Or whenever we do here, you can see it does another command, and it pops up this little description here. So you can do everything you can do.
It's crazy to think that this has been done only using a behavior, and that's fantastic. Yeah. I really love, for example, if we want to show what are the possibilities, maybe the mesquite behavior is one very, very cool.
That's cool.
I think that also is very requested. So yeah.
So with a mask, I think I don't use this very much, maybe because it wasn't available. But I think the last time I used this was in like WinForms or something. But you can put the masks in here. So this is coincidentally this little mask down here, XXXX with dashes, is like a format of license plates for cars here. So whenever you have to input something like that, then you can have your user just type it without dashes, and it will automatically apply that mask with the dashes for you. Same thing here for a credit card, where you put spaces in between them, or for the date times. If you type numbers, it will automatically add those slashes, and it will add those masked behaviors for you. So that is also like a little visual trick that you can use to make it better and more clear for your users. So that is some really cool behaviors right here.
Okay, so let's continue talking about other stuff available today in the community toolkit. And by the way, I think that probably is the easier way, or one of the easier way to contribute to the toolkit, and are the converters. So as Gerald mentioned, probably at the beginning of your project, you are copy and pasting many of your converters, like converters to manage the visibility based on the conf, inverse, bool, and what I mean, all these kind of converters that are repeated project by project. And the idea in the toolkit is to group these common converters and offers all these kind of converters in a simple library. If you don't know what is a converter, sometimes when you are doing a data binding, you need a different type of what the property is. So the converters allow you to transform and convert between different properties. So today in the toolkit, we have several converters, like, for example, convert from a byte array to an image source, convert from a data time to an offset, or then we have more complex converters, like be able to do item ticket event and map a command, or a multiple converter. That is probably the most complex option that we have today so far in the toolkit, that allow you to set different conditions in XAML. And I think that, like before, the best way to look at this is taking a look to the sample. So I'm going to jump to Visual Studio and the same corollary Xamarin Community Toolkit sample, and I'm going to jump to the converters. So yeah, byte array to image is used converting byte array to image. Nothing very special here. I can show very quickly. I think that I can navigate between the code very, very quickly. So these are the converters. This is the byte array sample. So this is the converter, and it's easy, very easy to use. Just pass the byte array and will transform to the match source. The same happen with other stuff, like, for example, the date time offset. And then there are other more interesting ones, like the item ticket event. So if we go to the sample, what we are doing here is create a converter, and then here, if you take a look to the behaviors that we attach to the list view, we can invoke a command and pass some parameters just using the behavior. And this is probably something very typical problem issues that we have using collections and invoke commands. So there are a couple of converters to achieve that. And then we have the more complex one, this multi-converter, that I think that we can understand better just taking a look to the code. But in this case, for example, what we are using here are two converters, not equal converter and the text case converters. So if the text introduced will be automatically converted to uppercase, and we'll check that it's not equal to a specific string. So you can set an array of different conditions and pass different values to compare and validate. This is a really simple way to do complex condition, and looks very, very simple to use. So I really love this converter. So after converters, let's continue talking about effects. Gerald?
Effects. So effects, basically, so if you think about it, behaviors, effects kind of do the same thing, but effects is more, I think, tailored towards, like, not having to write a custom renderer, because, if you wanted to change something about the way a control looks on a different platform, that you would have to go out, create a full custom renderer, which can be daunting, right? Which can be scary. So for that, Xamarin Forms came up with effects already a big while ago, and now we've got a couple of them already set up here in our Xamarin Community Toolkit as well. So we've got the, I can go over this real quickly, icon tint color. So that basically means that you can apply a tint to a icon. I think this works on Android, iOS, and UWP. Not sure about UWP. So you can basically take like your icon font image thing, I think, and normally that would be render blue on iOS, and here you can just say, okay, I want to have this tint show up as red or whatever works for your styling in your app, right? So the remove border effect, I think these were actually, a couple of these were taken, the remove border effect and the select all text effect, I think those were taken from like the early days Xamarin Community Toolkit that people were already using. And the remove border effect removes the border from like your entry on iOS, I think. So, then you can just have this invisible kind of entry. Again, that makes it easier for you to fit into your style, probably, because normally it would have this border. And the select all text effect is kind of like, should it be an effect? Should it be a behavior? I don't know. But what this does is whenever you select that entry, or I think it's, generic to any text element, whenever you select it, it will automatically, boom, select the whole text. So, that could have its use case as well. The save area effect, I know for that one for sure is, oh, here we go. See, we have demos. For sure is the save area effect has to do with like that things on a iPhone X and up where you have the notch and you have that little areas that you don't want to use to make it easier to work with that. So here we can see the remove border. Actually, switches my screen. I'll just show it in the demos right here. Because this wasn't on the slide because we have the touch effect right here, right? This is something that is contributed by one of our core contributors, one of our core team, a community member, Andrei Miljukovic. I'm still not sure if I should say it like that, but here you go. And this was his own separate library. So that is like really cool. Because we also have people that have libraries, which does really cool things. But, it's just too much for them to maybe maintain for themselves. So now we have a team, even backed by Microsoft, to help you out with that. So, if you have a library which does already cool things, open an issue, make a proposal, and we'll talk about if and how we can make that fit in our community toolkit. But this is one of them by Andre, like I mentioned, and this basically allows you to do all kinds of things with touch effects. So I have this big chunk of nothingness here for Visual Studio, so let's see if we can put something useful up here as well. So if you go and look into the sample, then here in the pages, basically you have the same kind of categories that we try to maintain for all of our features. And here we go into, no, not the behaviors, we're past that, in the effects, and we have the touch effect page. So this is also meant for you to look into, and you can see how to actually implement this into your own app. So you can see here this effect is applied like this, and you can do all these kinds of things with the different touches. You could specify like animations. So this is basically like your animations and touch gestures plus that are typically built in to the Xamarin Forms package by itself. So here you can see this does something with different images whenever you press them. This is an entire layout that receives like the touches and does something with an animation too. Here we can do a long press, and we can even fire a command whenever that happens. So this does some rotating whenever you keep it pressed longer. So this is really powerful stuff whenever you need to do some more advanced things with the presses.
And by the way, include some functionality not included in Forms by default, like the long press or other kind of situations where you need to manage when you are touching down, when you are touching up exactly to do some specific stuff. So I think that, was a very, very, very nice introduction to the community toolkit.
Yeah, exactly. So one other thing, I think, so I was looking into this. Oh, here it is, the tint icon. So here you can see this is the same icon and nothing changed. This is the exact same icon that is rendered, but you can just say, okay, I want it to be green or red or whatever color you want. So you can easily change the tint on that. Last thing, the thing I mentioned here, the select all text. So whenever we just do this one, it doesn't do anything. So that is interesting. Without the effect. Oh, so now it works. Okay, so we might have a little bug here. Whenever you find something, open an issue or fix it yourself, because Community Toolkit. So this is what it's supposed to do. So whenever I focus this, it's supposed to do the whole thing. And this is without the effect. Okay, and whenever I do it here, you can see, boom, it selects the whole thing immediately, and users can start typing something new. So that can be something useful as well. What more, Javier?
Cool.
What do we have more?
We have much more. So I think that we will need to accelerate to achieve to review everything. So let's pass to share now my screen, and let's continue talking about views or controls, because it's where we have more and more stuff included in the toolkit. And by the way, I created these slides and updated it yesterday, but today are not up to date because we merged, for example, one new layout, and it's not included in the slides. So, but it's okay. Let's talk about the current controls that you can find in the Community Toolkit. And let me start talking about the avatar view. The avatar view, well, it's represent the typical user name and user picture that you can see in many applications. Typically, for example, in the email application, without image will show the initials, with image will show the image, and there are different options to customize the color theme, to customize the font size, font family, etc., etc. And this is one of the first controls. If you are okay, Gerard, let's do a quick review between all the controls, and then at the end we can put the focus in a quick demo. It's okay?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's saves us from some switching around. So that's really good. This is batch view. This is contributed to by our lovely Javier. So that's really cool. Is that right? Actually, did you do this? Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, I did this one.
Yeah. Good. See, okay. So this is really cool. This basically allows you to put a badge, so like the little red icon that you see on the icons on iOS, and I think Android has them as well. But now inside your app, and basically on any element, because you see the way this works is you wrap your control inside a badge view. So by doing that, it will know about the label, in this case, that's inside of it, and it will know where like the top right corner is, so it knows where to draw the little badge, and you have all these kinds of options. You can set the background color, the text color, the actual text, which is also quite nice to do. And you can already, we'll see the demo in a little bit, but you can change the value, of course, at runtime. Does it also have a tap action? So you can also do actions with it?
Not of action, but you can set the position in every corner, in the top left corner, top right corner, bottom, etc. And also there are a very cool functionality related with animation, so you can set animation when the bucket is showing up or when you are hitting the bucket, and also you can override a simple interface and implement the interface with a couple of methods when the bucket is showing up or is hiding, and you can using Xamarin Forms animations customize how you want to show or hide the bucket view. So yeah, there are some cool functionality. Of course, it's open source, and we will continue improving it. And maybe, for example, a tapped command, a tapped event, or something like that will have sense in the future.
Yeah.
So next one, Gravatar image source. Another nice contribution from the community, in this case from Dan Siegel, where allow you to easily use the Gravatar image from gravatar.com, allow you to customize some basic stuff like the size, and there are also some performance options, like if you want to use some caching for the image or not, manage, of course, the size and the option related with the naming, etc., etc. So another very cool option available in the toolkit. And
Expander. So this is another one. So you're going to hear a couple of the same names over and over again. I think this is I saw some discussion. Andre wants to change his last name because no one can pronounce it. So I'm going to try again because I put an L in there. Andre Mishukovic. Just say it fast enough and confident, and everyone will believe you. This is the expander, and this is also in control that he contributed from his own library, basically. So what this does is like have this kind of, accordion view, if you will. So you can have like this top level items, then you press on one and then it expands, and you can actually nest them. So you can, press another one and it expands again. And you can have all these options, like, do you want, the rest to automatically collapse? I think you can style the whole thing. You can have headers, the content template, so everything's templatable, because that is really cool. All these kinds of things. It doesn't, since we're on the air anyway, it doesn't work really well at the time with collection view. So we know about a couple of issues there, which we're going to roll with right now. And of course, we're going to investigate if and how we can fix that. But other than that, it works pretty cool.
Yeah, by the way, as we mentioned before, this was part of Xamarin Forms, and now we moved it to the Community Toolkit for several reasons, but one of them is to be able to continue improving or modifying it with new properties, or allowing to fix stuff like this collection view without being blocked by Xamarin Forms 5.
Absolutely.
Right? And other that we moved ported from Xamarin Forms to the toolkit is the media element control. It's a very nice control that is just a view for playing video and audio. So there are different options to play different kind of source, from local files to remote URLs, to manage when the media is opened, ended, is failed, when you change the position. There are several properties to manage what's happening. Again, we ported and moved all the issues from Xamarin Forms related with media element to the Community Toolkit to continue improving and fixing issues in the media element. There are a couple of ones important related with the cycle of life when you are navigating an iOS mostly. For the rest, is working very nice. But yeah, definitely we will continue improving it.
Range slider. I'm not even going to say who contributed this, because it's Andre again. So here we have the range slider. So the normal slider from Xamarin Forms. This lets you select a range. So you can specify like the maximum, not really specify, but you can catch a maximum and minimum value, basically. So you don't have one thumb that you can move around to catch one value, but you can have two. Like, hey, I want to set my temperature for my jacuzzi between this temperature and that temperature. I don't know, just a top of mind example, because I would like to have a jacuzzi by now, because it's getting colder here. But so this is all things that you can do, which is really cool. I see all the data binding right there. You can style a whole bunch of things with this. You can style the left thumb and the right thumb independent from each other with colors and borders and making them bigger and smaller. There's really cool.
Many properties in the range slider, so you can customize mostly everything. And we pass to another API, in this case snackbar. I think that is a very requested one in many cases. And in this case, the API is working in a similar way in how you show message or display an alert in Xamarin Forms today. You have this kind of methods called display snackbar. There are different options with different parameters, but you can, of course, customize what are the options that you want, what are the parameters, the duration, what will happen if you tap in one of the actions, or what will happen in another one. So yeah, very cool. And you can customize, again, different parts of the snackbar. So state layout.
Yes, I get to name another name. So this is Stephen Davison. I'm the only person alive that can pronounce his last name right, I think. And this is his package that was known as State Squid. But we're a much more professional package, so we renamed it to a little bit less playful. Totally kidding, of course. This is a state layout, and here you can, depending on what state you give it. So this is kind of like, the Visual State Manager of states. That doesn't make any sense. But one particular use case that is really cool for this one is like, that little shimmering effect with like it shows like the little grayed out layout already while your app is loading. That is definitely something that you can do with this control. So you can specify like, hey, my state is loading right now. You can see that. You can specify your own states with a state key, and then you can show just a GIF image, or maybe you make that animation some other way, and it will show that layout during everything that's loading, or maybe you have some other state that you want to show. Really powerful stuff right here.
Really cool. And we continue with the side menu view. Is well, we have different ways in Xamarin Forms to create side menus with shell and the master detail page. But in this case, this allow you to create a flexible right and left menu control when you can customize, of course, the percentage or the position or, of course, colors and how you invoke the logic to open or close the menu and different options. We are trying to accelerate a little bit to show up some demos. So, Shell, Gerald?
Yeah, shield. Those little cool badges with like, black on the other side, another color on the other side, little description. You can use it. Very cool control. Next. Tap view. I'm going to talk about this one, Javier, because I know you contributed to this one. And this is a control that everyone is waiting on. Because that darn tap view tab thing on the bottom of your app, you can't customize that. And with this, you can make it totally look all the way how you want it, have that big button that you always dreamed on in the middle of the screen. Slide through the tabs. You can have tabs that go like a carousel view. You can slide. You could do all kinds of crazy things. Let's just go to the demos Javier and have a look at all this awesome, amazing stuff.
Yeah, so if you want, I'm going to jump very quickly to the demos, and we are trying to explain quickly all these views. So avatar view is the first one that we have seen. A control to create the avatar. If you don't have much, will show up the initials, etc., etc. The second one that Gerald mentioned is the button view. The most interesting part is that you can customize the size, colors, shadows, and the position. And of course, there are some cool animations, and you can customize these kind of animations when you are showing up or hiding the button view. Camera view. Oh, we don't talk about that in the slides. And there are new ones like dock layout that is a new layout that I mentioned before, but we merged that yesterday. And well, it's similar to the dock panel that you can find today in WPF. Let me go to the media element is, to reproduce a video. This is the bug that we need to fix. And I mentioned before with the navigation and working on that. Then, Gerald, if you want to talk very quickly about other controls, like for example, expander. So this is the quick demo. As you can see, you can customize mostly everything, not only the content, also the header, and you can nest different expanders, and that's very, very, very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, right slider. You can see there are a crazy amount of properties to customize. We don't have enough time to.
I don't want to interrupt you, but 3 minutes. Okay.
How much? 2 minutes?
3.
3 minutes. Yes. Okay, tab view. This is the most complex one. So yeah, what we try to create here is allow you to customize everything. So there are different options to create and customize everything related with the tabs. You can navigate between the tabs with swipes, with just clicking. You can customize every tab. You can have different templates for different tabs, and of course, you can use a tab item source to bind a collection. For example, you can use tab bucket again with beautiful animations, and you can show or hide the bucket, the tab strip. You can put the tab in different positions. You can do many things. So, of course, you can use tab view without content. So, if you only want the tab strip, it's also, of course, possible. And let's go again to the slides to see the last slides, because there are some slides that I really want to mention and show up. So how to use the toolkit, Gerald?
So right now we're in pre-release. I think we're going to, but I've said this a couple of times more. I think before the end of the year, we will release a stable version together with like the docs and everything on it. So that's going to be really cool. If you want to use it today, just do this or go to your NuGet dialog thingy. click the pre-release, show pre-release packages, and it will show up there. If you're a fan of like the C# markup thing, then that's a separate package. We're trying to keep everything in the same package as much as possible, but this one is separate. So if you want to use that, find the separate package.
Yeah, C# markup, that again is another functionality that would move it from Xamarin Forms to the toolkit with the idea of maintaining it open to any chain, include new extension methods to easily allow you to create beautiful UIs using, in this case, C# code. What's next? Well, we are working with different Xamarin Forms PR that we are trying to port to the toolkit, and we are several open PRs with new amazing functionality. For example, well, these slides are obsolete because we have merged so far some of these layouts, but you will have new layouts like uniform grid if you want a grid used with all the columns and rows using the same size. We don't need to set it. X layout or doc layout, and we have new controls like the content button and very exciting functionality like pop-ups. That was a PR in Forms, and we are moving to the toolkit. So I hope that soon we will have something like pop-ups. And last thing, let's see how to collaborate with the toolkit. I don't know if we have enough time to show everything, but yeah, if you want to explain the different ways how anyone could collaborate with the toolkit.
We mentioned already a couple of times, and it's even like in the name, right? It's a community toolkit. So this is all about you, the things that you want to see in there, but also we need your help because, Javier and me are working on at Microsoft. So, we're here, but we are very busy people, just like all of you, I'm sure of it. And this is something that we love to do, but this is not our main job, right? So we need your help, and we would love your help, and we would love to help you help us, if that makes sense. So, if you run into any troubles contributing, just reach out to any one of us, the people that you see on there most. I'm sure there will be blog posts and other content to make more clear who is involved with this and how you can get started. But, it's not just code. It's opening issues. It's reviewing PRs. If you have an opinion, and I know you have because I've seen it many times, just go into that PR, let us know your reviews. We appreciate every comment that you can make. We will consider anything. So the documentation, of course, also much needed contributions there. So if you're good at that, if you love to do that, please go out there as well. Many ways to contribute. Basically, everything that has to do with the toolkit that will make it better, even if it's just an email with an idea sent to me, that's a contribution as well. So lots of ways.
Yes, absolutely. Not only you need to create the next big control, you can use open issues, you can use review PRs, open an spec with an idea, write us an email or on Twitter or whatever you want with any feedback. And there are different ways and many ways to collaborate with the community toolkit. And because the community toolkit is driven by the community, there are many people. You have mentioned some ones. I don't want to try to see if I can mention better or worse than you. So I will just thanks all the community. I extract all the people that has contributed so far in the toolkit. And yeah, thanks so much to everybody because we are getting very nice functionality, very nice controls, effects, everything, and we are improving very quickly. So thanks so much to all the community. I don't know if we have time for some questions, but if we have, now is the moment.
I think it is there any problem because Gerald answered all the questions.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I was sharing the screen.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
Some guy,
so much.
Javier, I think you need to ban some guy called David Ortinau because I think it pulled a bit of spam. So,
okay.
But
okay.
There's one question I really quickly want to go into on Twitch. I see, will pop-ups replace the widely used RG plugins pop-up? It's up to you, right? I mean, we have another way of doing pop-ups, which is another thing that we are trying not to do, is become another MVVM framework, because there's a lot of requests for like, hey, can you make this MVVM thing easier? So we are trying to also be aware of not creating even more ways to do things. But sometimes there's alternatives. So if you like our pop-ups more, if that fits better to your requirements or your situation, then you can use our pop-ups. If you like the RG pop-ups better, then use that one. We don't care. We're still friends.
Yeah,
so it's all up to you.
Exactly. And just to remark, a small difference between the two implementations. The pop-up implementation that we will have in the toolkit will use the native pop-ups in each platform, in every platform. And as you know, well, in RG pop-ups, it's using some cross-platform elements that have some pros and cons. In some cases, allow you to customize a little bit more. In other case, well, you're using the native APIs in every platform. So yeah, I think that it's perfectly fine because you will be able to choose between two different approaches, two different ways, and think about what fits better with you and just use it. So that's fine. So this is the end. Thanks so much for joining into this session. I hope that you have learned something new about the community toolkit, and see you in the next session.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.